Welcome to this special. Technical difficulties, they happen when you go live. It didn't fully complete the intro, but hey, that's okay. That's what happens when you go live. So I am very excited for this special that we have. It is Embracing Hope, Quantum Awakening. And today is March 3rd, or 3/3. And I was actually just talking with some of my guests in backstage and talking about the significance of today. For some people, it's just another day. For others, it means different things that are maybe, if you're tapped into your spirit, universe, guide, whatever you want to call it, this day may have different meaning for you. For me, I am your host, Kelli Melissa Reinhardt. I am actually the host of the Make Mental Health Matter show. This is one of our specials, and 3/3 for me, the repeating number of any really repeating number, has been a big thing, at least in my life. I initially actually lost an ex-boyfriend in 2025. Wait, yes. I'm like, not 2025, because that's next year. 2015. And numbers just started. Like, I started seeing all kinds of numbers. Then I lost my middle sister on February 20th, 2017, to a completed suicide. And that's when the numbers became really strong for me, repeating numbers. So 10, 10, 11, 11, 12, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5. I would see all the numbers all over the place. And I, over time, have really tapped into my source, my guide, my spirit's universe, whatever you want to call it again, and learn about how these potentially represent, or can be angel numbers, or they can have different meanings as far as how your guides are leading you through this thing that we call life. And I thought that I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't think I see them that often. And then one day I decided to take screenshots on my phone. And if you go back and look at my phone, it's constant all the time. But then I go through these moments that I don't see any of those numbers. And that it's just really interesting, because I was like, well, maybe I'm just like noticing them even more now because I'm taking the screenshots. And that's why I notice them. So then I erased all of them out of my phone. One, because that takes up a lot of space on your phone. So I erased them all. And then it started again. And I was like, all right, fine. So then I started taking screenshots again, and it's filled up, and it's became this thing with our family. Actually, my son now does it. My husband notices them. It's like this energy, right? I don't know what it means necessarily. There are moments that I recognize that there is something out there that is guiding me, further than maybe myself, or that I can myself. And so that's why I decided to have a special. That was a long-winded intro, but I just want you to understand why I decided to have this specific special on today, and bring on the guests that I have for today's special. So I'll give you a little bit of background on each of the speakers for today. They will be sharing whatever they feel so compelled to share with you today. We have 2 hours to be together. And if you are watching this, thank you so much. We also, most of our speakers have prepared something special for you, and maybe a freebie that you can go download, or maybe they're going to give you tips, tricks, give you a little bit more of that deeper level understanding. And that's really the whole point of what we're going to do here today on this special. Conversation is so important. Having the uncomfortable conversations are something that I've gotten really good at. And that's what my show, the Make Mental Health Matter show, is all about, is having those conversations that maybe you didn't think that you would be having, but they are important conversations to have. So we talk about everything from mental health to substance abuse to suicide to experiences or stories as related in the space, whether they are advocates of mental health, professionals of mental health, and or just have lived experience. And that is really the conversations that we have. And there's been many guests along the way that have really taken on, and we just talk about everything, anything and everything. Again, my show at least is not about perfection. It's really truly about getting the information out. And that's what my special speakers for today are also going to give you as the audience. So without me even ranting on over and over and over and over, I am actually really excited to bring back one of my speakers from my very first special, which was last September. We did a special during National Suicide Awareness Month, and she was on that special also. But I wanted to bring her back on this one too, because that's the world. She's also been a guest prior on my show. So I'm going to actually tell you their bios, which is, I want you to just really get the energy that they are going to be giving you as they come up and share their experiences. So, and I probably, Leslie, I am sorry, but I usually don't say your last name properly, so you can always make sure that you correct me. But Leslie Tankersley, I'm totally gonna say it wrong. I'm sorry, and I don't want to butcher your last name, so I will let you say it. But she is a certified quantum human design specialist and family coach, and an international speaker and author. In her coaching business, which is Kaizen Wellness, a name inspired the Japanese business concept of continuous improvement. She focuses on the power of the personal narrative and helps people learn to tell the story that they want to live so they can live the story that they want to tell. Using a combination of movement and stillness, she guides her clients in reconnecting to their own body, brain, and breath, because when you transform your relationship with yourself, you also transform your relationship in life. Then she writes and speaks. She shares her own story of transforming her relationships in life. When she writes and speaks, she shares, oh, I just said that. Wait, no, when she writes and speaks, she shares her own story of transforming trauma into triumph and focuses on the practice skills of integrity and resiliency. Leslie combines her experience, education, and expertise in neuropsychology, quantum physics, and marketing to support her clients and audience members in understanding the importance of making aligned choices to create the life that brings them joy and success. She believes that each and every person is unique, once in a lifetime, cosmic event, and hopes for everyone to be empowered in creating design change and tangible results in our lives and relationships. Let me switch over and bring her up, Leslie. I totally butchered your last name. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. It's actually my husband's last name, so it's okay. I won't take it too personally. You got the Tankersley part right. That's my maiden name. But Arboleda is my last name.
Arboleda. Okay. Well, I will give you the stage. Thank you so much for coming back as a speaker.
Thank you so much for having me, Kelly. And I just really appreciate that you create this forum for us to have these kinds of conversations. Hopefully today is going to be a bit of a fun one, but even when we're having fun, we can get serious. And even when we're serious, we can be having fun. So when I first was extended the invitation to show up for the 3-3 special, I really wondered exactly how I was going to spend the gift of my 20 minutes to share with you all. And as Kelli mentioned in her experience, numbers are an opportunity for us to notice what's happening in life. And some people really tap into the numerology of things and give a lot of meaning to what shows up. And other people don't necessarily give as much meaning to it. For me personally, I find that the magic in life happens when we're noticing what's going on around us. So I absolutely believe in magic, although I know the bunnies don't come out of the hat. So where that shows up for me on this topic of 3-3 is the ebbs and flows, the peaks and valleys of our human experience. I use a variety of modalities in my business and in my other areas of life. And one of them is tarot cards, which I know a lot of people have different stories about. And what I like to share the reason that I use tarot is that I find that they're a great tool for helping us realize the story that we're living. As Kelli mentioned, I think if we understand and become empowered in telling the story that we want to live, we can also live the story that we want to tell. And being able to have those tools that serve as cues and clues to notice where we're living a life that maybe doesn't bring us that health, joy, and abundance that I believe is our birthright as human beings. We can really serve ourselves and the people in our lives that we're in relationship with. And my husband sometimes likes to call me a spiritual Pollyanna, but I think that's also how we're here to serve and evolve the collective. I think I'm not everybody's cup of tea, that's for sure. And I think it would be exhausting if I was here for all 8 billion people on the planet. But for the people I am in alignment with, and for the people I am here to share with, I really feel a passion and a purpose in helping people do that with a bit more ease and feel a bit more joy while they're on the journey. One of the things I do in my business is really help people understand how to navigate those natural cycles of disruption that come with walking around in this animated meat suit, as I sometimes affectionately refer to the body. And one of the ways that we can do that is by being courageous and tapping into our own resiliency. In quantum human design, we talk about a set of understanding called the resiliency keys. And I'm not going to spend my time tonight talking about that in depth, but I do want to take a moment to acknowledge that resiliency is the foundation on which all of the rest of our experiences are standing. And when we understand our lovability, and when we understand our courage, and when we understand our empowerment and a variety of other ways that we show up in life, that's really how we can tap into that ability to show up as our best selves and give ourselves grace when we're having those days, those weeks, those months, those years, depending on what cycle we're talking about. So in tarot, the numbers show up on the cards if you're familiar with the deck. And if you're not, imagine your own little playing deck of cards. The numbers have an energy to them. And there's these peaks and valleys that come with the energies of the numbers. And the number 3 for me really represents that energy of creation. So if we're pulling out of the ethers that inspiration from potential, and then we're figuring out what part of that potential we really want to amplify through inspiration and alignment, we go through this process in the 3rd stage of things that's about creation. And it's not that energy of what has been created, but it's this active verb that is life. I geek out on the quantum aspects of all kinds of things, quantum physics, neuroscience, and all kinds of other things. And one of the things that I really love to share with people, and it's not even a quantum physics lesson, it's a basic physics lesson. You might have remembered it from physics in high school. Things can be measured in their location in space, or things can be measured as they move through space, but location and movement don't coexist simultaneously. And so I like to think of our bodies as this beautiful physical manifestation of a location kind of experience. And I love to think about how the movement of life is happening around us. And then our personal unique experience is that intersection of this physical body in this particular timeline and this ever-changing experience that's moving around us. I also share the lens of astrology, in addition to psychology and a variety of other ways of looking at ourselves and noticing what reflections we're casting out into the world and what reflections people are sharing back with us. And those, regardless of which lens of self-understanding you're using to be a better version of yourself, understanding the role you play in the evolution of things, I think, is really important. So the 3-3 to me, especially on this day and in this conversation, speaks to the importance of being empowered in how we're creating the life we live. And I think, especially in the context of mental health, taking back our power and being clear what we are in fact in control of, and then what we really aren't in control of, can sometimes be a confronting experience for people. It can be a confronting conversation for people to truly understand and surrender that white knuckle grip that we sometimes like to hold on to as human beings when it comes to thinking we're in control of the things happening around us, or we're in control of how our relationships are going to show up in life. But for me, I think where I find the true power is understanding that I don't have control over any of that. I'm in a marriage, I'm in a family, I run a business, I have clients, I drive a car on the street with a bunch of other people. And all of those things, whether I'm intimately invested in the relationship or not, are really outside my circle of control. But what helps me make empowered and joyful in decisions and choices in my own life comes back to really understanding what I'm creating. And a lot of times when people think about stories, it feels like a something external to them. And I like to really remind people that the stories that we're living, the experience we're having, is the result of the thoughts that we're practicing. And whether we're practicing them out of habit, because we've been doing them for 10, 12, 20, 30, 40, 80 years, or whether we're practicing them with some kind of curious, purpose-filled mindfulness, is really inside our circle of control. I can't control whether someone does something that doesn't make me feel good, but I do get to control how I let that impact my life, how I let that impact my perspective, how I let that change me or not change me. And being able to stand on that solid foundation that we've created with purpose is one of the secret superpowers that I think we all possess. As Kelly mentioned in my bio, I was taught and fully believe and embrace and teach others who are willing to listen that we are each, every single one of us, a unique, once in a lifetime cosmic event. And whether you look at yourself through the lens of the astrological energies and where Venus is in the sky or not, you are made of the same chemical elements that we studied in chemistry on that periodic table that the stars are made of, that this earth that we're standing on is made of. And what makes us unique as human beings has to do with the proportions and the way those things are put together. But what makes us unique as individuals is how all of that comes together and intersects with the stories we're living. Most of us, from a psychological perspective, by the ripe old age of 7, we've started living the stories that we're going to cycle through and repeat into our adulthood. And if we're blessed to wake up and be 60, 70, 80, 90, a lot of times we can find ourselves standing in our adult experience living a story that really doesn't create the experience we want, the experience that brings us joy. I know that a lot of times the conversations I have with folks about the traumas they've experienced in life and how they're choosing to integrate the lessons they can learn from those experiences can be hard conversations for people to start to have. But one of my personal superpowers is not telling someone what they need to know or what they need to do. It's about asking them the right questions to help them remember what it is they're here to create and what it is they want to create. And the cool thing about waking up every morning is that we get to create whatever experience we're really willing and ready to do. So if we're doing things that we did yesterday that don't really serve us or aren't bringing us that natural joy that we have access to as human beings, I think there's a great opportunity to tap into those pain points, is what we call them in human design. The anger, the frustration, the bitterness, the disappointment. If you're not experiencing that health, joy, and abundance that is accessible to you, it's not because you're doing life wrong. It's not because life is wrong. It's not because things are not able to be changed. It's because we find ourselves in misaligned places, usually as a circumstance of making misaligned choices. And a lot of those misaligned choices we've made out of habit because we've just been doing what we know to do, or we've been living the stories that we were raised to live. I know that for me personally, I've had some really great aha moments in my middle age. I'm about to be 48 next month, and I'm so grateful to be halfway to 96, and I can't wait to see what happens for the next 48. But I also know that I know that a lot of those stories that I have been living weren't really bringing me the natural joy and the ease that's available to us. And certainly those natural cycles of disruption that come with being human are a part of this human experience. But also, we get to be in charge of what part of it we're choosing to repeat, what part of it we're choosing to recreate, what part of it we're choosing to be curious about and just open and surrender to the whatever happens, happens kind of experience. So I think there's real magic that comes from the mundane sometimes, of just taking a moment to notice and then having the courage to either own the choice or make a new one. I know that when I think that Kelly also shared that I really like to share my own experience of transforming trauma into triumph, as I like to frame it. But it's really about understanding how to shore up your focus and many of us are living with those sloppy boundaries, as I like to call them. We sometimes do this and we sometimes do that, but we don't necessarily consistently own the choices that serve our highest interest. And being able to look back on some of the things that intrinsically were hard, devastating. I lost my own father when I was 21, and the circumstances to there's never a good time to lose a parent, but the circumstances and the details of that loss for me are intrinsically pretty not so great. And when I tell that story sometimes, I think it sort of surprises people that I am able to look at the experience and tell the story, not from a place of spiritual bypass, but truly from a place of understanding that I'm in control of what part of that story I choose to integrate into my present moment and my experience. And being clear that that experience of trauma exists on a continuum of our lifetime. And a lot of times we put these binary categories on experiences as human beings. We want it to be right, or we want it to be wrong. We want it to be good, or we want it to be bad. And honestly, that's normal. That's typical, and that doesn't often serve us when it comes to understanding that we live in this spectrum of experience, and kind of like the beautiful rainbow in the sky, there isn't a clear boundary between when red becomes orange and orange becomes yellow. And so trying to put these firm boundaries on something that's really kind of boundaryless, I believe, based on my experience and my research, that that's really the source of that suffering that we come to know in our human life. And I am committed. It is truly a purpose and a passion for me to help others identify those places where the pain points show up and turn them into cues and clues to how to realign, where to refocus, and what it is, and to be empowered to know what it is that we really want to create, and then go do it, and do it in an aligned community with the support that grows I think, infinitely when we get in that alignment, not just internally within ourselves, but we find ourselves with the right people at the right place and the right time. And when we're struggling with our own mental health, that's when we really want to tap into those community acts, those community support, and that ability to have those accountability buddies, as I like to call them, those people that love you enough to hold you accountable to being a better version of yourself. Even if you're not stepping into that best version, whatever that is today, there's always an opportunity to be a better version of yourself. And that's really what the inspiration of my business was about, that Kaizen concept. It's a concept I learned back in business school of continuous improvement. And I like to say Kaizen living is about continuous improvement from a place of current content. So I think I'm about at my timeline, but I really just wanted to say that I think that we're all, again, if you take nothing away from this 20 minutes except this one thing, know that each of you is a beautiful and unique, once in a lifetime cosmic event here right now to make the world a better place. And already it is because you're in it. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate the time.
Thank you, Leslie, so much. That was amazing. So I want to also throw this up, and maybe you would like to explain what kind of little freebie that you are offering to anybody that happens to be watching this.
Sure. So my favorite systems of self-understanding is quantum human design, and just like a natal astrology natal chart is a energetic example of who you are, quantum human design I like to describe it as a way to bring the astrology and the energies out of the sky and into your body and then into your relationship. So if you're curious and want to learn a little bit more about your design, or you just want to explore it if you already know, scan the QR code below or log on to my website, and I will carve out some time so that we can explore that together and make it a little more personally useful and customize whatever it is that you're looking to do so that you can go be that happy, healthy, and abundant person that you're here to be.
Amazing. So again, this QR code and then her website is scrolling along the bottom. I would highly recommend just chatting, see what it's all about. And I know I often tell people the conversation you and I had about the meat suit, and I think everybody like loves that phrase. That's like one of my new favorite phrases because in a way it just explains like how we are as humans energetically here, right?
Right.
So I love having those conversations, and every time I say it to somebody they're like, oh, that's brilliant. So
Well, go forth and be your best animated meat suit you can be.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing all. I super appreciate you. So thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah. All right. So, it's still scrolling down here. I'd noticed that they were on top of each other. So, you can go check out her website, and or she is also offering this 30-minute energetic blueprint. So, scan the QR code that's literally right here. All right. Yay. So exciting. I'm going to bring up my next guest, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about her before I bring her up. So, Carly Stein, and you've seen her if you've watched my actual show, you have also seen her on my show. She has come on and shared her story. She is also, I'll tell you a little bit about her, but she is also part of the BCC Evolution board. So my nonprofit BCC Evolution, she is part of my board, and I'm super excited to have her. I actually brought her on as a kind of fill-in person, but really because I believe in all the things that she is doing. And so let me tell you a little bit about her. So Carly Stein, a visionary artist, embarks on a creative odyssey where colors come alive and art becomes a soulful journey. Her work, a vivid tapestry of emotions, draws inspiration from the diverse hues of life, people, places, and experiences that have shaped her remarkable voyage. A master of acrylic paint pouring, Carly's unique technique unravels the magic of healing and intuition on canvas. Trusting her instincts and the dance of colors, she unleashes abstract wonders that leave hearts spellbound. Having embraced her passion for art since her formative years, Carly's journey briefly led her away from her artistic calling after college. However, in 2019, a powerful yearning brought her back to the canvas and amidst the pandemic, she immersed herself in creating awe-inspiring art that touched souls across the globe. In December 2020, after another fateful twist, guided Carly to the mesmerizing world of paint pouring. Within no time, her abstract creations found homes in the hearts of art enthusiasts and transformed her life's path forever. Today, Carly primarily focuses on the abstract paint pouring, crafting breathtaking jewelry from paint dips, and conducting mesmerizing paint pouring classes in Denver. Her artistry has garnered recognition, earning her the prestigious 2022 Westward's Best of Denver Reader's Choice Best Art Class Award. Her work isn't just art, it's a source of strength and resilience. Carly's creation became a lifeline during a challenging battle with a deadly infection in her colon, reinforcing the profound impact of art in healing. Exploring the kaleidoscope of Carly Stein's artistic world at ksteincreates.com and unravel the enchantment of paint pouring at paintpouringdenver.com. All right, let me bring up Carly. Thank you for joining me.
You're welcome.
I think I just went out of order, and I'm sorry if I
You
totally did.
did. I was like, it is
Yeah.
not 5 o'clock, but here we are.
I know, right? Sorry. I like literally as I'm reading that, I'm like, oh no, I just went out of order. So I'm really, I apologize that I totally
Sorry,
am
Kate.
out of order today. Right. Yes. I made a list on one side and then another list on another side. So hey, it happens. But I am just thankful and grateful that you were able to jump in kind of last minute to be able to come on and share a little bit more background. I know you and I have conversations not often, but kind of often about just like getting downloads and having the energy. And there's so many other things going into this. So, whatever you would like to share at this moment.
Yeah, well, when you were talking about the intro, hello, downloads. So my whole journey with my spirit, I guess my spiritual journey really started with numbers. I was working at a hotel and I was miserable, and I kept seeing like numbers, like it was crazy. Every time I'd look at my phone, it was 111 or 222 or 333, and it was like a pattern that um I could not escape. I could not deny. I could not get away from. And I was like, okay, this is getting too real to not question. So I started questioning it, and eventually learned that those are called angel numbers. And good old Google would, tell me the meaning of it. Uh, and that really, started my spiritual journey. Um, and they still speak to me. Right now, it's 88. Is every license plate I tend to ever see is 88, because Colorado has changed its license plates to like 2 numbers. So I see that a lot these days, and then. Which is good because it's really a sign of abundance. And that's really where it all started. And that was probably a good 15 years ago, probably now. So, and here we are.
Yeah, I think I just recalled like the first time you and I really started talking about like last year when we had the conversations around it being a 7 year, and then you're like, well, next year is an 8 year, and I was like, what does that mean? And then
Yeah, so
we started having those conversations.
that's all numerology. And I'm kind of a um being a neurodivergent person. I you know learn about all these different things. And so normal, that's a lesson in, so you add up the years. So 2023 was a 7 year, and then 2024 is an 8 year. And then you can add up your birthday. And then there's like life paths, and I'm not an expert in this, so you'll have to bring one of those on, and I can probably find you one, but for your show, but to like really dive into the things deeper. But it, and they there's life paths regarding numbers and whatnot. But yeah, like last year was a lot about releasing what wasn't serving you so you can have a successful year this year, abundantly. So, but there's also different aspects that come into play with other things as well. So, it's complicated, as a lot of things are in life, because as Leslie just said, we're living in our meat suits, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I know that um through our interactions, obviously, and then also just you being really in tune with your body, with your guides. Oftentimes you're like, oh, I just got this like download, right? And it comes from, and maybe that's what you can explain, if you would like to explain, like, what does that mean, like
Yeah.
those
So
people that don't understand.
that's how a lot of my life is lived. So it's just spiritual intuitive hits. I call them downloads. Inspired, talking to my guides. I mean, they're the the quantum world, or we call this quantum awakening, but there's so many aspects of this. So so many practices, so many things that are the same thing but called different things. But it's all a relationship with a higher energy that we're really not, that we all work with on a different level. So it's for me, a lot of it's inspired. Mythica's going to be talking later. Her and I are good friends, and she'll say whenever I'm getting inspired, I'll like put my tongue out. um, so for me, it's a lot of my art is spiritually inspired. I also use solfeggio frequencies, which is an energetic frequency when I'm making my art. So like there's a huge gamut of spiritual practices that are used out there. Um, but yeah, just creative ideas that kind of come to my head. I mean, I use them for BCC stuff all the time, and I'm sending them to you left and right. So I got an idea.
Yeah. I mean, and it's so if you like, I want to kind of like put this into the only word, layman's term, that's what's popping in my head. That may not be the right word, but if you have I know in the past, I have been that person that when I'm taking showers or something, right? Like I have these like thoughts that pop into my head and I'm like, "Oh, that's a good one. Oh, I got to remember that later." Or there are times, and it's going to be different for everybody, but you probably have these ideas that kind of pop into your head and all these things, right? But I think the difference really, and what I have noticed and come to experience myself, is that it can be like pretty powerful at those moments. Like it's like, whoa, like it's like a rush of like energy that happens, that it's not just like this automatic thought that pops into our head, right? Like it's like this rush of energy. And I've had moments that like it's caught me off guard and I started crying, right? So it's not just like that normal thoughts that you maybe have in the shower or while you're going potty or something, but it's like really truly something beyond ourselves that we can't always necessarily explain, other than we know that we have our guides and there is an energy.
Yeah.
And if
So
we're open to it.
yeah, perfect example of that is, and I wish it was closer and I can like energetically grab at it, but it's across the room. So I have a painting I did early on in this paint pouring career, and all of a sudden I just got this like energy, like I gotta do it. So it's like a hexagon shaped painting. I don't know, maybe 10 inches around, maybe a little bigger. And it was like to do it fiery colors. So black with reds and golds, a little orange in there and whatnot. And it was like in December, because that's when I had started paint pouring. And it was very, very inspired. Like I had just gotten the energy for it. Whew. And it turned out incredible. And I was like so in love with it. And I went to bed, the next day, turned on my, opened my phone and learned that a volcano had erupted in Hawaii, like at the same time. I was painting that.
Wow.
Right? So I had like completely picked up on that energy of that volcano that was erupting, like just energetically picked that up and had to make the painting.
Well, I'm going to give you a minute to go get that, because we're going to go to a quick sponsored break. And then when we come back, that'll give you a chance to run over there, grab that,
All
and we'll
right.
have a couple more conversations. We'll be right back after
All right.
this time.
Hi everyone, I am Sinead from Brador. I'm from Johannesburg, South Africa. Please join me in my Power Hour every Sunday, 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on E360 TV. Mwah!
Jeff Pearson here, host of Invisible Condition, where we talk about all the people who are living and thriving with all those conditions that you can't necessarily see from the outside. Join me every Tuesday and Friday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time on E360 TV.
And like that, we're back.
Yep. So it was Kilauea volcano, and this is the painting.
Wow. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so, I get inspired ideas all of the time. Like that. So it's, I got to do this painting. Or, my last business idea, came the exact same way. Oh, maybe this is the direction. And sure enough, I moved in that direction, and it has changed my entire life. So,
yeah, I think it's like we can have these moments that we have these downloads, right? Or we have these thoughts, and oftentimes most people, not most, some people will just let it go. They're like, oh, that's a great idea, whatever, right? But it may not be something that you circle back to. And I know through at least my experience is that as I become more aware of my automatic thoughts, as I become more aware of like those downloads or those emotions that come up, and I'm allowed to have that experience, and I'm allowed to go towards what I want to have, but also recognize that that's the thing, right? Like it's not just this fleeting moment. And when we can start to pay attention to those, that's when you can take it and roll with it, and it may change the whole entire direction of your business and your life.
well, right. And on the flip side, if you don't listen to those, it gets harder. The universe or God or whatever your spiritual connection is, whatever words you choose to use, it can start to hit you over the head like a 2x4. I mean, when I was working at that hotel, and I wasn't listening to the signs to say get out of there, it led to me getting fired, which led to me struggling for a very long time, which led to me getting evicted, uh, and struggling even harder. Um, so yeah, it was like I was hit over the head with a 2x4 eventually. But lessons learned, and I needed, my spiritual growth needed me to learn those lessons. And I'm in a much better place now, but learn the lessons when it's easier and listen when it's easier.
Well, I think that's a good point too to also bring up, is that when we just don't take those moments to really download or engage with the thoughts that we're having, it can lead to other negative like mental health challenges potentially, which can snowball. And then we have these negative thoughts versus these positive thoughts. And when we can really just be aware of what is happening in our bodies, because I think that there's so many people in this world that don't pay attention to that, and they really should. And it's not, the thing that's popping in my head is like a lot of people talk about meditation. A lot of people talk about all these different things that you could label self-care that are helpful for you. And then you have those people that are like, that just doesn't work for me. But this is just a whole different level of how we can just really become aware of ourselves, our body, our energy, and it can literally change the direction if we allow it to be there and and acknowledge it.
Right. We were in kind of a spiritual chat group the other day, and this guy was like, I'm experiencing all these things and I don't know what it is. And, he was looking for advice. And my strongest advice to him was just start asking your awareness, asking your body, what is this? You have infinite wisdom inside. What is it? Your body has consciousness, your awareness has consciousness, you got guides. They'll direct you if you're willing to listen.
Yes, I love that. And I know that you and I talk a lot about like the planets and alignment and all those things like that, and which I still don't fully know, but I can usually just like be like, why is everything feeling out of whack? And then I just ask Carly, and she normally knows. So
Yeah.
everything needs to be aligning properly or not. So if somebody wants to find you, how can they do that?
So the easiest way is I have several websites, so, but probably my art website is the best way, ksteincreates.com.
Yay. And on social media, of course. So if
Yeah.
you want to reach out, you always can. I'm so glad that you jumped in. I know it was like super last minute. And I'm like, oh my God, everybody, no, but like the speakers are leaving. I need your help.
I know, right?
Yes. So
everyone like got sick this weekend or some craziness. So
yeah, it has been definitely, the sickness has been going around my house. So I totally get that. But I appreciate you coming on because I know that this is something that you and I talk about a lot. It is definitely something that you are passionate about, and always somebody that I can rely on when I need to kind of know like what's happening, along with all the brilliant people that are on today. So go check out Carly. Thank you so much for being on here as my guest too.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, that was pretty cool. I don't know about you, but I think that when you become much more aware of, again, your body, your thoughts, all the things, it really can come together, and you never know where that energy is coming from. It could lead you into the path of a career change. It could lead you into the path of creating something magical, like a piece of art. You just never know what that might be that's guiding you in the direction of life, right? So I am excited for my next guest. I put guest and next together, I don't know, which I totally went out of alignment from what I originally did. So I apologize. But I am going to bring up Kate, and let me read about her, give you a little bit of background on Kate. So Kate Killian is a life coach, a somatic facilitator, and founder of Unlearn Become Coaching. She works with highly sensitive, high achievers who want to live an energizing, fulfilling life, but regularly flirt with burnout because they struggle to prioritize their own needs and values. Through one on one coaching and body mind education with a playful, imaginative, and gentle approach, Kate's clients have become prolific writers, transitioned to dream retirement careers, claimed their longing for work abroad, and more, embracing their true identity as visionaries, pioneers, and disruptors who put joy at the center of their life. Kate draws upon her varied experiences as an award winning violinist, childhood educator, software engineer, and learning and development professional to connect with people across diverse backgrounds. In addition to her coaching practice, Kate is also a musical artist, songwriter, and music producer, performing under the name Velvet Malachi. I probably said that wrong. She lives in Colorado with her husband and two cats, Layla and Pepper. I totally probably said that wrong. Sorry, Kate. Like,
no problem. It is a joy to be here with you.
And sorry, I totally got out of whack with the lineup. So
it is all good.
Well, I will give you the chance to share what you have put together for us. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you again for hosting all of us, and I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to be here. in particular, the intersection between mental health and spirituality, like these two things are deeply intertwined for me in my own personal journey. And I'm going to talk about some of how that path has gone for me, as well as how everything that I've gone through and what ended up working for me, which was really this blend of like aspects or facets of traditional mental health work with the more spiritual side, is what actually led me to become the most free and open that I have ever been. And this informs all of the same tools that I use with my clients. So, thank you for the introduction, Kelli. And yeah, to just reiterate, I am a life coach. I'm a somatic facilitator. For those of you who don't know what that means is basically working with your body's sensations and working with movement to actually help feel your feelings. And the process of feeling your feelings and kind of like moving that energy through and out of your body gives you the space to be able to have that clear channel to be able to receive like the divine downloads that everyone's been talking about so far. I love the work that I do with my clients. It is the most meaningful thing that I could be doing with my life, for sure, in addition to the art that I'm creating. And all of this is only possible because of everything that I went through and the windy, twisty path that I journeyed on, really, to find my own way into healing. And the first thing that I want to acknowledge is that healing and the process of healing looks different for everyone. And I believe that it is your duty to yourself, to this like piece of earth that you are stewarding in the form of your body, to do whatever you can, make whatever tiny choices you can to put your mental health first, put your physical health first, because mental health is literally the foundation of anything that is ever created in our own lives and in the world. And so if we want a better world, that I really believe that starts with making sure that we are taken care of, making sure that we are in a good place ourselves. And so that is really kind of the beginning of my background. I grew up in what looked like kind of a perfect house on the outside. It was like a middle class family in New England that I was born into. My dad was a financial planner. My mom was a stay-at-home mom for a while, and then was in school, and then went to law school and kind of did all these things that looked great on the outside. What was definitely not apparent from the outside to most people, because my family was very, very secretive and very cloistered, I guess you could say, is that there was vast amounts of untreated trauma on both sides of not just each one of my parents, but their whole extended families. Just so much trauma, alcoholism, personality disorders, untreated chronic pain, which I'm not sure if some of you know that chronic pain, there's really interesting science now about unprocessed trauma and chronic pain and the relationship between those two. And so my mother dealt with chronic pain for basically her whole life, or at least as long as I was alive. And in large part, I often think about how that was probably due to her unprocessed trauma from her own childhood. And many other physical and mental health issues, very poor care of each one of their health, physical health, anxiety, depression, like you name it, it was pretty much there in our household. And this was all just painted as normal, as I know it is for so many people. And this is why it's hard to believe that mental health and discussing mental health can still be so stigmatized in certain cultures and certain family systems. And certainly I think that secrecy and that not unwillingness to discuss mental health issues, or to not even acknowledge that they existed, was in large part to protect like the shame and the pain that my parents carried. I think if they even admitted to themselves that something was wrong, they thought that their whole world was going to fall apart. And so what this meant for me, I was the first child of this family system, and I am a highly sensitive person. Maybe some of you can relate to that statement where you like smells are stronger and colors, really affect you, and noises really affect you. And maybe you love loud concerts, but you hate, certain other kinds of noises. Um, these are some of the very light descriptors of what it might mean to be a highly sensitive person. And so what this meant for me growing up in this family system as a highly sensitive person is that because as a highly sensitive person, you're taking in a lot of data, I was picking up on all of the little micro expressions, all of the little patterns. And as many children do who are in family systems like this, I internalized the kind of underlying belief that I am responsible for regulating my parents. I'm responsible for their emotional well-being. I'm responsible for making them happy, for making sure that they aren't upset, for making sure that just everything is smooth and wonderful. Because I could already intuit that they couldn't do that for themselves because of their both extremely severe mental health issues. And so what that turned into was I became the kid who got everything perfect so that I could stay safe because was keeping everyone regulated. I became the straight A student. I became the prestigious violinist who got awards so that my parents could feel good about themselves. They were both ex-artists and honestly probably highly sensitive people themselves, who had let go of their careers for more traditional, kind of being on the straight and narrow type careers. And they funneled all of that creative energy into me. I became the friend who was loyal from the very beginning. And whenever I became friends with someone, I never had any needs nor had anything bad to say so that I would remain loved and accepted. I became the best friend and surrogate spouse to each one of my parents, their marital therapist, their mediator, their best friends. It was really not a healthy way for a child to grow up because whenever a child takes on adult responsibilities, they are not given the space to play, to make choices, to learn how to navigate the world according to their own needs and values. And when you unleash a person like that out into the world, then usually the result is immediate collapse. And that is indeed what happened to me. When I got into conservatory, I went to conservatory for violin. I was incredibly burnt out and could barely get out of bed for almost my entire college experience. At the same time, I was still pushing myself and beyond my body's limits to just excel in every way that I could, and did become like an award-winning violinist, went to multiple, music festivals, etc. And I was sliding into my own deep depression. Interestingly enough, I lost a good friend to suicide when I was in high school. And I saw the profound ripple effect of that on my community, how beloved this person was. And none of us had any idea that this was happening or going, that they were depressed, that they were making plans. And through witnessing that experience and just being affected by that experience, I committed to myself that no matter what happened in my life, I would not go down that road. I would not entertain. I knew that I was like, well, that's not an option. I need to figure out something else. And sure enough, actually, all of the unresolved trauma that I had gone through from my own family situation of emotional abuse, gaslighting, narcissistic abuse, etc., all began piling up and basically leading to my own kind of path of suicidal ideation. That was what I call like my rock bottom number one. This was age 21 through 24-ish. I didn't know what to do. I was like, I can't proceed with what I'm thinking about because this is I'm not entertaining this, and I need help. So I reached out to a therapist for the first time. My attitude during that time was like, I just need to fix myself so I can be productive again and perform all the little things that I'm supposed to be doing as a good daughter, as a good violinist, as a good, adult. And I did, during that therapeutic experience, I did begin to learn kind of the basics of self-compassion, the basics of self-care, going on walks, picking up hobbies, doing things for fun, and really did realize that I wasn't only useful for work output. But after a couple more years, I moved to where I now live, which is Colorado, and I hit rock bottom number 2. I had been doing better at taking care of myself. I hadn't yet, though, underlearned the intense people pleasing and the severe perfectionism that was kind of keeping these internalized oppressors that I was still like crushing myself under, essentially. I was still couldn't get myself to take action on the things that were important to me. I couldn't form relationships that were really like nourishing. They were all very turbulent. And I was getting little glimmers and whispers of what my true dreams were, but I just kept on kind of pushing them away. And so I remember I decided, like, I have to be able to choose. I have to like be able to own my own ability to choose to move towards help. I have to own my own ability to choose just in general, that I am not just a victim of the things that are happening to me. I am able to take what is happening in my life, and I am able to some extent, choose my experience of what's happening, choose where I'm going to direct my attention next. And so that began kind of the upward spiral for me. When I began to notice my ability to choose, and this is a key principle of trauma recovery, is people reclaiming their ability to choose in a therapeutic modality called somatic experiencing. This is one of the key things of even just in how you move your body, noticing if your body like instinctively wants to kind of curl in when you're experiencing a certain emotion. How can I choose to relate with this sensation and this posture? How can I play around with other postures, other ways of carrying myself and my body that might lend to a different experience of this situation that I'm in or this problem that I'm thinking over? So anyway, back to choice. Just kept recentering on what choice can I make right now? What choice can I make right now? When I really began to explode, I had gotten out of an emotionally abusive relationship, had changed careers, had found long-lasting and stable love with my now husband. We've been together for like 8-9 years at this point. I put myself in spaces to learn the skills that I never learned, and the really just resolving trauma on a very fundamental level through EMDR and DBT therapies. I began to really trust my natural interests and gifts, and discovered how much good I could do when I just followed those things, and how much less energy it required of me, because I was allowing myself to do things that I was naturally energized by. What I want to focus in on for my final few minutes speaking with you all is what happened to lead up to my life really exploding. When my life began to be on like a positive rocket ship was when I learned the following things. Number one, seeing that every one of my so-called self-sabotaging behaviors had a gift inside, that there was wisdom in there. There was some way that I was trying to protect myself and keep myself safe or give myself care in the things that I didn't like that I was doing. For example, procrastination, just a way of keeping myself comfortable and shielded and safe and immune from other people's criticism, because if I don't do anything, then nobody can really criticize me for the thing that I'm not doing. So that's one example of kind of looking for the gifts in some of the things that I was doing to self-sabotage. Learning about the power of the body. I love that. That's Carly and Kelly already talked about like how important listening to your body sensations and emotions are. I loved, like, the part of my biggest realization was that the body is the subconscious. The body is what carries our memories and lived experiences. And so through things like somatic experiencing, even things like a yoga practice, ecstatic dance, um, and kind of like deliberate, thoughtful, mindful movement. And you can actually like help to shift and experience emotions differently so that you, again, are open to new perspectives. I began opening myself up to a relationship with nature, with my ancestors, and the divine more broadly, and just seeing my interconnectedness with everything. And finally giving myself like that safe space to be held, that safe space to be known that I never had growing up. And then lastly, using art, using creative expression to actually make meaning out of everything that I had experienced, and to make meaning out of just to get clear on what I valued, to get clear on what my boundaries were. Art, the act of creating, is the process of like clarification in so many ways about what is important to us. And so all of this informs what I do with my life now, which is being a coach, being a musician, and how I practice my art, how I work with clients, etc. A lot of what I do is this kind of body-oriented way of working through problems. I'm a coach, so I am technically helping people get from point A to point B, really thinking through like, what do I want my life to look like and how am I going to get there? But the process of the how, traditionally, especially for people who are highly sensitive, this does not really work very well, where it's like very linear and very logical and like, you got to do this and you got to do this and very procedural. While that does have its use and value for highly sensitive people in particular, there is so much wisdom in the magical, in the playful, in our bodies, in our felt experiences. And so if I had to leave you with one takeaway, one message, it is to know that expression is not optional for highly sensitive people. Beauty and rich sensory experiences are not optional. I'm going to say that again, are not optional for highly sensitive people. And creative expression, this process of actually like acting out what you're feeling, imagining characters in your mind that represent the problem that you're up against, using your body to shift emotions, like all of these things that are so artistic, creative, and playful are actually the path that is possibly more effective than for you than even just kind of verbally processing out loud, or doing some kind of more traditional project planning or more traditional type of coaching experience. And yeah, the very final thing I want to say is just there is wisdom in every dysfunctional thing that you do, even addictions, even rumination, even procrastination. There's some seed in there, even if like we do not want to do, that behavior that's destructive. There's something in there that's wise. And in order to kind of like take the air out of that thing that we don't want to do and to do more of the things that we do want to do, you really have to be willing to take a step closer and be curious and ask, like, what is this protecting me from feeling? What's the seed of wisdom that's in here that once I learn, oh, this procrastination is actually trying to keep me safe. Cool. How can I keep myself safe in a different way than procrastinating? This is the creative process that begins to open up your whole life to making new choices and experiencing a whole different set of possibilities for what your relationships can look like, what your work can look like, than maybe anything you ever dreamed was possible for yourself. And I know that was the story for me. I never thought that I would be able to do what I'm doing today, that my work could be such a joy, that being here speaking with you could be like literally something I am doing as part of my mission and my work. And this is what I wish for everyone, is to know how beautiful it can be when you listen to the wisdom that's inside of you. Yeah, so that's all that I'll share for today.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kate. Wow, there's, I mean, so much goodness in what you just said. And I totally, right toward the end, I was like, oh yeah, I procrastinate pretty often. But it's how you show up and what it is about that thing that you do is so important. And I also love that you talked about creative ways and play, and how we really need to understand how people are and how they function. And that's a lot of what you do also. So I would love you to explain what your freebie is that you are giving away, which is right down here.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I am so excited to share that for the whole month of March, I'm opening up my schedule to do complimentary sessions for people in our audience. I mean, granted, I do have other things going on, but so complimentary sessions, you can use your phone to open up the webpage linked on that QR code that is at the bottom of your screen, and you will see my booking calendar. We will have an hour to solve a problem together, and you'll be able to experience what some of these tools are like that I just shared with you, which is hopefully it'll just give you a taste of like, wow, change could happen like this. So fun, so easily. That's like the very least of what I know you'll walk away with through these sessions. And yeah, and then otherwise, I guess you can find me and my work at the website that is scrolling on the bottom, which is unlearnbecome.com. I am very active on Instagram. Also, my handle is all one word, unlearnbecome. And I post a lot of fun stuff over there. So I would love to keep the conversation going.
Amazing. Yeah, definitely. So there's the website if you want to go there, and I'll throw this up one more time. If you scan the QR code, that's amazing that you're doing complimentary sessions in March. So I also love the fact my family is very musical. My mom was a music teacher and dance and all those things. I have actually a whole entire sleeve that is all about music and dance and being creative. So thank you so much. That was wonderful. And I so appreciate you being on the special today.
Thank you so much.
Yay. All right. Wow. Like, I am just always so blown away by the speakers that I have on my show and on our specials. Let me stop the scrolling from happening, but you can still go to the website. We are going to go to one more quick sponsored break, but after we get back, we'll have our last speaker come up and wrap it all up for us, because it is 3-3. What that means to you is up for you to decide, but ultimately it can mean a lot of things. So we'll go to this quick sponsor break and we'll be right back. I lost my middle sister, Carrie, to a completed suicide on February 20th, 2017.
My story, however, it isn't unique. I am a domestic violence survivor. 14 years, I was in active addiction. And because of Kelli and the work that she does and the opportunity to have my voice heard, I was able to stay clean and sober and have hit a year. I'm still here. And if it wasn't for Kelli answering my call the day that I thought I was going to take my life.
I'm curious, and I know that I've heard a lot in the BIPOC community, it is very hush-hush. It's like one of those things that you don't talk about. Like, you literally feel like it's not a conversation you can have. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
First, shout out to Kelli, because I'm glad that she asked the question. I researched you before I went on your show, and I saw how real and authentic you were. And I just appreciate the question, because it is different, and we have to have tough, courageous conversations.
Kelli's passionate commitment to mental health awareness is a beautiful thing. It's clear that she puts together, and the activities that she provides, her collaboration with organizations, and the consistent way that she continues to deliver a message, encouraging people to understand that they can share openly and to break the stigma around mental health. Kelli's topics cover children and adults, talk about things that we can do as a community, things that we can do individually, and her website is packed with information and resources and all kinds of contacts that you can use to reach out, whether you're dealing with something yourself or you're looking to help somebody else who is struggling. I encourage you to check it out.
What's going on, beautiful people? I'm Sean French, and I am the host of The Determined Society. Join us right here on Vitality TV every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern for stories of grit, determination, and excellence right here on E360 TV.
Hi, I'm Julie Jones Hamilton, and my partner, Lynn Kitchen, and I co-host World's Greatest Motivators every Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific on the Achieve channel. Come join us and the best thought leaders in the planet today, right here at E360 TV.
I'm not exactly sure why the commercials always get cut off, but it kind of, I'm like, well, that's live TV for you. So, well, I'll have to figure that out one of these days, why the commercials always get cut off and the mouths aren't matching the words, logistics, those things. All right. I am going to tell you a little bit about our final speaker for today, and we will get this all rolling if I can pull the right one up. Okay. So Mythica Blessing, with a compassionate heart and a deep understanding of the spiritual dimensions of healing, she has dedicated her life to guiding others through their darkest moments towards a path of light and recovery. Excuse me. Certified as a hypnotherapist since 1993, a master NLP practitioner, Reiki master, and an ordained minister, her journey into the realms of healing and spirituality is rooted in both personal experience and extensive training. Her spiritual journey is marked by 3 profound near-death experiences, which have not only shaped her understanding of life and death, but have also granted her insights into the afterlife that few can claim to understand. These experiences have imbued her with a deep sense of purpose and a unique ability to connect with those who are struggling, offering not just hope, but tangible spiritual tools and insights. In her practice, she bridges the gap between the physical and spiritual, addressing the often overlooked spiritual aspects of mental health. Through energy healing, readings, and working with both benevolent and malevolent spiritual entities, she helps her clients navigate their spiritual crises and find balance in their life. Additionally, she creates a synergistic blend of epoxy resin with stones and metals known for its energetic benefits. This too is part of her holistic approach to healing, offering both a physical object for focus and a tool of energetic balance. Her work is not just about preventing tragedy. It's about affirming life, embracing the spiritual dimension of existence, and empowering individuals to find peace, purpose, and connection in a world that often feels disconnected and devoid of meaning. So you know why I brought her on today. So, Mythica, thank you so much for coming tonight.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here.
Yay. Well, I will let you take the stage.
Okie dokie. Well, thank you, Kelly, so much for having me be here. And for those of you who are watching, both in the present moment with us live or in the recording, I just want you to know that you're not here on mistake. You are here on purpose. You're listening to this on purpose. We are talking across time and space because not only are we in the now present moment, we're all in the now future moments. So there is more than one time and space that we're talking to. And I do want to say that our previous speaker, I agree with completely, Kate, that in our most painful things that are going on, in our illness, in our disease, in our physical pain, in our mental pain, and our emotional pain, is the seed of our healing. And I couldn't agree with Kate more. Absolutely. But something, so suicide prevention is something that is a personal passion of mine. Because of my near-death experiences, I get a physiological sensation in my body when I feel that a soul is close to the edge of that. And it's one of those things that I can actually physically feel it. And there's been a number of times where I've been on my Facebook and I'm like, I have to post this, and I'm posting something and I know that it's going to reach somebody somewhere. So for those of you who don't know, I was on the TV show Skin Wars, which is the first body painting reality competition TV show. For a while it was on Netflix. Now it's on Hulu, and I think it's also on Pluto TV, which is a free TV app. And I had a young lady who came up to me at a local anime convention called DakuCon. And she had these cute little cat ears and like a little like Harry Potter outfit at the same time. It's like a mishmash of things. And she's like, "Hi, I just wanted to let you know that I'm here because of you." I'm like, "Oh, great. Thank you so much for coming." And she's like, "No, I'm alive because of you." And I'm like, "Excuse me?" She goes, "Well, I saw you on Skin Wars and I really, really connected with you. And so I started following you on Instagram. And one night, I was going to kill myself. And I literally had a question in my head, and I saw your post and it came up in my news feed as if it was a direct answer to the thought in my head. And it convinced me to stay and to live. And so I often am like, "Oh, I feel the need to post," right? And the thing is that when we are acting out of kindness in the world, we have no idea how far reaching that goes. We have no idea what an act of kindness will do, what a kind word will help with. And this is why it's so important in our social media to be responsible. And if you're struggling with something today, how would you encourage yourself? And then go find something like advice that you would give yourself if you yourself were struggling. And maybe you are. And then you post that. And then you find somebody will just respond and say, "Whew, I really needed to hear that." And one of the things that I find most interesting about mental health is that nobody talks about it being a spiritual crisis. It's not just a mental health crisis. It is a spiritual crisis. Only always. Suicide is always a spiritual crisis. It's beyond that because it involves the ending of a soul in our life here on earth. And I have what's called an unfair advantage. I've had 3 near-death experiences, all that happened when I was younger in my childhood. And there's a lot that I couldn't share with people, because I was in the 2nd grade when I had my longest one, which was basically I was in a coma for a week. And I went to what I call the in-between place. Why did I call it that? Well, because I had a child's mind at the time. I was 7 to 8 years old when it happened. And I was in the second grade. And, it's just one of those things that a child's mind doesn't have the words or the language for it. But the one thing I never lost was the love. And over time, life happens and you forget what you had last Tuesday for breakfast, let alone what you had 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, right? And so that unfair advantage was being in the light and the love of God. Now, that being said, nobody said it was God. There was just this ball of unconditional love, and I called it the heart of the in-between place because it was love. But I didn't have the words unconditional love. And it is just pale in comparison to here. Like, the closest I would say that you could come to it is the moment a mother gives birth and they lay that baby on your chest for the first time and you're like, oh my God. Like, something explodes inside of you as a mother, right? Same thing with the father the first time they lay that baby on your chest. You're like, oh my God, it's alive. Or when your heart races when you're, something happens with your child and everything inside you explodes to go rescue them or save them or, lift the car with one arm and all the adrenaline's flowing with you. But even that is pale. And so when I was in the in-between place, I didn't want to merge with the light. There's a lot of people who are like, no, I wanted to be there forever. But because I was so young, I still was like, no, then I'll forget what I'm supposed to do. Right. And I remember saying to the light, you can be everywhere all at once at the same time. But the one thing you don't have is what I have, which is arms and legs to hug people. Right? This is a kid's mind. That's how a kid thinks. So I'm going to go back so that I can be your arms and legs and hug people. So I can help them to feel this. And I got to tell you, like, I've got people that break down in my arms that just cry because that's how I got my wife, Julie. I hugged her in a parking lot in the dark at 5:30 in the morning at Red Rocks. And I just had to wait until she would let me in. And then when she just melted in my arms, I was like, oh, there she goes. Now she's letting me give to her. Now she's receiving the hug. And like, I'll get up on chairs for guys that are really tall, and I'll get up and I'm like, put your head right here. There's that melting because there's no words. It's just that love that I remember in being in that space and recalling it and feeling it and feeling it and giving that to the person that's in front of me. Giving that to you. You matter. Like, consciousness is waking up. We're becoming more aware. And the fight is on for the light workers. Right? Light workers is anybody who wants to make a difference in this world, on this planet. Kelly's a light worker. Man, she is here to battle the darkness. And, what she's doing is important work. And what Leslie is doing is important work. She is a light worker. Carly is a light worker. Kate is a light worker. But you have the potential to also be a light worker and help bring people out of the darkness. Even if you're the one who's in that dark spot right now. Absolutely. Because when you make it to the other side of that, then you can be like, man, I was in that place and I recognize it. And so that's what happens, is that when somebody else experiences the darkness that you have felt, you're like, oh, I see you. I know you're in trouble. I know you're how in trouble. They're like, how do you know? How do you know all this? And you goes, because you used to be me. Because you used to be me. And so that is that spiritual crisis. That's that spiritual element. Just yesterday, I had a woman who had a skin condition that they have to give antibiotics for, but they don't really know what causes it. There's no medical explanation for it. They think it might be partially psychosomatic, but it has very physical consequences. It's like stuff that comes out of the skin. There's actual stuff that like grows out of your skin. It's kind of it's crazy. I don't know how to pronounce it, but she's been screaming and crying for months for help. And I was there with Carly. Carly and my wife Julie was there. This is that spiritual discussion Carly was talking about earlier, and both my Carly and Julie were like, "You need to talk to her." And so she told me what was going on, and I felt the truth-o-meter inside of me. I'm like, "Oh, that's a spiritual problem." She's like, "What?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, it's a spiritual problem." Well, how do you know that? I said, because I can feel it in my body. Right? We dismiss feelings. We dismiss imagination. Oh, it's like, oh, that's just your imagination. Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge. There's a reason for that, right? Our imagination is so powerful. Our imagination is a spiritual, divine power, right? Also, we're talking about the quantum here, right? I love quantum physics, y'all. I could go on it forever. But in quantum physics, they there's called the double slit experiment. And so when they shoot atoms through a slit and you're looking at it, it does two things that you can see it. But when it's not observed, it makes an interference pattern like waves. So it goes into the field of potential and it goes in and out of existence until you look at it, right? Until you observe it. So the act of observance changes physical reality. They just, in this past year, 2023, the Nobel Prize went to someone in quantum physics who proved that reality is only localized in terms of like when you're not looking at it, when you're not observing it, it goes back into the quantum until it's observed again. And so everything that we thought about the material universe is not true. That being said, when it goes into that quantum field, how we perceive changes everything. Okay? So let's go back to the woman I was talking about yesterday. And I'm like, oh, that's a spiritual problem. And she's like, what? I've been telling people, I've been saying all these things. And I said, yeah. So number one, you're not crazy. It's a spiritual problem. Is that why nobody knows what to do? And I'm like, that's probably nobody knows what to do. Right? And so the relief that she got from feeling like she wasn't crazy, like we don't have in our mental health world any protocols for a spiritual crisis. In fact, it's like, well, that's for a priest, right? Except for the mental health community doesn't say, oh, that is a spiritual problem. Do you have someone, an expert that you trust that's a part of your spiritual path or whatever to go to? It's not even a part of the conversation. It's not even. right? And they don't know how to identify it. And I know that because my ex-husband was in the maximum security ward of the Fort Logan State Mental Institution. Now, he had rage epilepsy, which is when his prefrontal cortex blacks out and he rages. That's why it's called rage epilepsy. And he becomes inhumanly strong, and everything's just based on need. Just think of a caveman, right? And they don't know what they're doing until they're calmed down, and then the blood flow comes back to the prefrontal cortex, and the person's like, what happened? So that's why he was there, not because, he was trying to hurt anybody. So I went to go visit him there. And I walked in and I saw people that had spiritual problems, and the doctors didn't know they were having spiritual problems. They didn't know that they were dealing with a spirit. They didn't know that they were dealing with a possession. Right? So, I'm sorry. Did I just say the word possession? Yes, I said the word possession. People can be possessed. And this is another aspect. There are tons of people that are both in prisons and in our mental health facilities that have this as a spiritual problem, and it's not identifiable by others. But some of the really interesting things is that you can give somebody enough stuff that it should knock them out, or they should be dead by the amount of sedatives that you're trying to give them, and they laugh at you. That's because you knocked the human out and the spirit took over, right? So now all of this stuff that I'm talking about, this is stuff people don't want to say. They don't want to talk about. It's scary. It's dangerous. No, let me tell you what's more dangerous. Living in a world without love and compassion, and it's all about judgment and classification, and there's a lack of empathy and understanding, and you don't want to talk about it. Things that we don't talk about are death. Things that we don't talk about are, how do I deal with my emotions? There are no classes for children on how to do this. This is why it's so important to teach meditation to children, right? A lot of times it's teaching adults too. But I'm here to tell you that no matter what the problem is, at the core, unconditional, non-judgmental, and I mean the most non-judgmental love you can ever imagine, is the answer. I'm talking about somebody sticking a gun in your stomach and saying, wow, you must be in a lot of pain if that's the answer. That's what Byron Katie did. I don't know if you've heard of her, but Byron Katie did the work. And with Byron Katie, a guy actually came up and put a gun in her stomach after an event. And she's like, you must be really hurting. He goes, I have to do this. She goes, I understand. You must be in so much pain if this is your only answer. And she ended up with him not pulling the trigger and walking away because she was in such a place of compassion for him that he didn't do it. An empathetic, compassionate, truly compassionate heart is the most powerful weapon in this spiritual war for the soul to be here. And when people are in that much pain in the soul, like, this is what this entire conversation is about. Yes, we need tools. Yes, we need to learn what to do. But first, we need to create a place of safety just to feel the intensity of our feelings. And that's why I love Brene Brown, right? You know, she says, just go in the dark and sit with somebody while they have their emotions. It gives them permission to let them come out. That's so much. There's so much poison. There's so much toxin, and it builds up biochemically in the body. And that's why emotions are so painful. And that's why people are like, I can't escape my own body, therefore I want to commit suicide. And so there's this tendency to lie and not tell people how we really feel because it's a societal value. And I'm here to tell you that your life is valuable. You are valuable. Your life is valuable. And that when you commit suicide, when suicide happens, it affects all the people that you've made soul plans with. They're as much lost as you are, except for you've taken them with you, right? And the soul is going to have to come back to work on it again, to try again. I just had another healing session the other day with somebody who in their past lives has committed suicide. And so they're here in this life to work on staying. So this is not a one lifetime thing. This is a many lifetime thing. And, you know, none of the, I'm not going to tell you about processes or the different things that I do or whatever. I'm here to let you know that I'm safe. I'm here to let you know that you are a divine being of the universe and the most precious thing on the earth, in the universe, in this time that will never, ever exist ever again. And that you are powerful beyond measure. So powerful. And that there is a reason that you are here. And that you are made out of the thing that you're seeking. You are literally made out of love. You are divinity itself. And it's just this crazy whacked out world that it's so dense and dark here. We come here to struggle against it, because what would Frodo's journey be if basically the eagles just flew, dropped him off at the mountain, and he threw the ring in at Mount Doom? That wouldn't be a very good story. We wouldn't really watch that story. But the butterfly that is breaking out of the chrysalis, if you stop that struggle, the butterfly doesn't get enough strength to be able to fly away, right? But there is a point at which you need to encourage them, just like a kid learning how to walk. Come on, I know you fell down 26 times, but you can do it. Come on, keep doing it, right? So I'm here to be your cheerleader, your spiritual cheerleader, right? And so is Leslie, and so is Carly, and so is Kate, and so is Kelly, and so is so many of us, right? You freaking matter. And if you just see the light, it doesn't matter if it's me, if it's Kelly, if it's Carly, if it's Leslie, whoever calls to your soul. Don't say I shouldn't bother them. See it as your soul trying to push you towards the answer that your heart is calling out for, right? Just go do it. Go do whatever, write it out, cry it out, whatever. It's a spiritual crisis. But the biggest part is in all of this spiritual stuff. Sometimes because nobody else understands, we think we're crazy. And what I'm saying is that it could be a spiritual problem, right? Now, there are some people who have mental health issues. And I'm not saying that they aren't mental health issues, right? I'm not saying that there isn't, that there aren't biochemical imbalances and you shouldn't take your meds because it's just a spiritual problem. And I'll go see Mythica and then I won't have to take the meds anymore. I'm not saying that, right? I'm saying that we are on a mission here on Earth. And this is a giant live action role playing environment. And we have to figure it out so that we can win the game, right? So we can fulfill our destiny. You have a destiny, so that means there is a reason you're here. You have a plan that your soul made before you came here. And there are spiritual clues everywhere. And if you want a little help, let me know, right? I'm on Instagram, and I answer my own Instagram. It's I am Mythica. You can message me there anytime you want, and it's just me. There's nobody else. It's on my phone, right? And I am coming out of the spiritual closet, so to speak. I'm going to be writing. I am currently in the middle of writing my own near-death experience book. I'm a very humorous person, so I wrote NDE3, Achievement Unlocked, from close calls to cosmic comebacks. Because boy, am I the comeback girl.
Yay! Oh my gosh, amazing, Mythica. And as you were saying that, I wanted to make sure that I popped on so that I can add how to find you. And also, do you want to just share a little bit about your freebie?
Yeah, so I'm in the middle of writing that book that I just told you about. NDE3, Achievement Unlocked, from close calls to cosmic comebacks. And it's really a story about how you can even have the most amazing stuff happen, still go into the darkness, and still come back, right? It's my story and multiple stories of mine of hope and redemption and light, and don't give up. And so I want to give that away to the first 100 people who want to do that. And if anyone, so it's right there. There's my Gmail. So just make sure you put in the title hashtag first 100. Okay? Hashtag first, because that'll help me find it. Because I get so much email because I've been on TV that it'll get buried.
Yeah.
And if not, you can always message me on Instagram and be like, hi, I want to be the first 100. Hashtag first 100. You could do that on my on my Instagram as well. But I am open to anyone approaching me at all whatsoever. Like I said, the thing that's the most important is for people to reach out and not to feel like they're bothering you, right? Like, you matter. You're enough. You're not a burden. You are incredible. You are love incarnate. You are divinity incarnate. If you are a woman, you are the goddess incarnate. If you're a man, you're the divine masculine incarnate, right? Don't freaking give up. I love you. Kelly loves you. I love you. We love you. Somebody cares. Don't give up.
So good.
Biggest message.
Yeah. There's so many, and all of the speakers today. I know, and thank you for sharing. Simply amazing. So one more time, it is scrolling across here. How to get in contact with Mythica. And I think one thing that you had mentioned, which is something that I share often, is that non-judgment. The really truly be non-judgmental, and being able to be in that dark place with people. Like, sometimes we just need somebody to be there. That's what we need. And we need somebody to be okay with wherever we are at that moment, and not judge what's going to come out of our mouth. So I think that is huge.
I call that being the sacred witness.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah. So, just for someone to be there to there's something very healing in the pain being witnessed, you know. Yeah, and you don't even have to say anything. Just letting somebody talk, letting somebody cry, letting somebody have it come out, and in having somebody sit there in that non-judgment is one of the most healing things that can be provided for another human being. And you don't need a certification in it. You just
Absolutely.
need a big heart.
Yeah. The love, the unconditional love.
That unconditional love.
Yes. Well, I am so appreciative, and I'm going to bring, I didn't even tell all of you that I was going to do this, but I'm going to bring all of you, since you stayed in backstage, I'm going to bring you on so that we have everybody on stage. All the ladies are here. I so appreciate every single one of you sharing your journey, your story, how we can really truly help people that are out there that may be struggling, or they're having this energy that they're not exactly sure what to do with it. So if anything anybody said here today resonated with you, please make sure that you go and reach out to any of these incredible women. So thank you all for being here. I super appreciate you.
Thank you, Kelly, for having us. We appreciate you too.
Yay. All right, y'all. Oh my gosh. I'm going to go back to this screen because I like this screen. This was an incredible special. If you didn't have a chance to watch the whole entire 2 hours, we were only here, like, I felt like it went so freaking fast. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, we're running out of time. Which is great because that means that it's impactful. There are so many people in this world that maybe you have these experiences that come up that you're like, I'm not really sure, like, what's happening. Why am I seeing these numbers? Why am I feeling this certain way? Why do I have this energy? How can somebody help me? And maybe it is that unconditional love. Maybe it is understanding our traumas. Maybe it is just knowing how to get those downloads, or really understanding the background, like quantum human design. There are so many aspects of this thing that we call life. Being in this energy and this meat suit that we wear on a daily basis. There's so much infinite power in our brains, and we haven't even touched, I feel like, the surface level of how powerful our brains can be, the energy that we consume, the energy that we put out, and really truly how we can help others when they need just somebody there to support them. I wish that I had these skills before my sister passed. Unfortunately, I did not, but this has opened me up to a whole different world. So if any of this information was helpful for you, please make sure that you can go to bccevolution.org. I will post all of the freebies from all of our speakers, and then come join me on my show, which airs on Mondays at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, the Make Mental Health Matter show. Thanks for watching.